Hi, I'm Annie Mazes, and I'm here with Ivy Pochoda, author of Visitation Street. This book has just come out. It's about two young teenage girls who one very hot summer night are bored and decide to take a small inflatable raft out into New York Harbor. Only one of them returns. The subsequent character-driven story deals with the aftermath of her disappearance in her community of Red Hook, Brooklyn. Nora Rollinson from earlyword.com is a huge fan of this book, and when it became clear that other librarians loved it through Early Word's Galley Chat, Nora had the great idea to host a tour of Red Hook and all the places that were in Visitation Street. Obviously, we love this idea. So during BEA here in New York City, about a dozen librarians hopped on a bus and we headed to Red Hook. It was a unanimous hit. Taking the tour of all the places in the book, the pier, the cruise ship, the bar where several of the scenes take place, it really brought the story to life, and all of the librarians loved it. Red Hook is an amazingly inspirational place, and I can completely understand why you would think to set a story there. So how did you get the inspiration for the story? Where did that come about?
Okay, well, I was living in Red Hook at the time that I began to write Visitation Street. I was struggling to write a different book, and it wasn't really working out, so I asked my mother for advice, which seemed like an unreasonable thing to do at my age. And she suggested I write about what was going on outside my window. And I took her quite literally, and I looked out the window, and there was a bar where I spent a lot of time. It's really called the Bait and Tackle, but I changed it to the Dockyard. And I started describing a lot of the characters I met there and a lot of the people I saw passing by outside. And so after a while, the novel started to expand from the life in the bar to the streets outside and to sort of various different parts of the neighborhood. Having
been to that bar, very definite inspiration because, oh my God, it's fun.
I wish I could have been there too.
But so that sort of delved into my second question, which is why did you choose the people, the perspectives that you wrote it from? Because it's told from the perspective of several characters.
When I started to write this novel, I was actually in graduate school, and I had to turn in a chapter every month. And initially, I just didn't know where my story was going. So it seemed like a cheap trick to switch characters every chapter so that I could figure out what I wanted to do before really committing to a plot. So initially, the reason I switched perspectives was to fulfill my school requirements of turning in 25 pages a month. But soon I realized that the people I had chosen to write about were really representative of different aspects of the neighborhood, and I was really glad that I had made the choices I did because I felt that all different areas of Red Hook were well represented.
So what was the most challenging aspect of writing it for you?
It was really that I was writing it while I was in graduate school, and I had to really, I didn't have the time to sort of take, a couple weeks to figure out what I wanted to write next. I had to, turn something in every month. But the bigger challenge was once I had all these characters that I was truly in love with, figuring out a story that would unite them into a cohesive whole. I could have just followed, different aspects of life in Red Hook over and over again, but I realized that I really had to unite the story around a single plot, which was, June's disappearance.
And like I said, librarians have really responded to this book. Have you had any library experiences that you'd like to share?
I grew up in Brooklyn, and the Grand Armory Plaza Library branch, which I guess is the main library branch in Brooklyn, it was this kind of magical place at the edge of the Prospect Park, and sometimes we would pretend we had work to do after school and take the subway into Park Slope, which was very exciting and made me feel very mature, and go to the library, even though I probably had absolutely zero homework in 4th grade. But I really loved hanging out there.
Thank you for coming and spending time with us, answering our questions.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
No problem. Ivy Pochoda is the author of Visitation Street, and it's on sale now, so definitely pick up a copy.